What would you do if the person you trusted most turned out to be the one orchestrating your downfall? It's a question that hits hard, doesn't it? And for Prince Harry, it's no longer hypothetical, because something just broke, quietly, without press releases, without palace statements. No staged photographs, no grand declarations, just a silence followed by a call. First to King Charles, then to Prince William. But before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And from what we now know, he wasn't angry. He wasn't yelling. He was crying. For years, Harry has stood by Meghan Markle through everything. The media attacks, the royal backlash, the frigid palace corridors. He renounced his titles, gave up his military honors, distanced himself from his own family, all in the name of love, protection, and loyalty. But now, insiders say that loyalty has been shattered. What exactly did Meghan do? That's the storm building behind the curtain. And whatever it is, it wasn't a small mistake. Not a minor disagreement. We're talking about something big enough to push Harry into calling the very two men he once accused of failing him. It started, reportedly, with a message, one that Harry wasn't supposed to see. A trail of digital breadcrumbs that led him to something deeply personal and deeply compromising. No, this isn't about a tabloid rumor or another Netflix contract. This, if true, changes the dynamic of the Sussex marriage at its core. And here's the thing. Harry didn't confront Meghan first. He didn't go to PR. He didn't speak to lawyers. He picked up the phone and called the royal family. Now ask yourself, what kind of betrayal would make Harry, of all people, return to the palace not with demands, but with a plea? It's not about money, not fame, not even titles. There's something else, something he discovered. And what he's asking for now, according to sources close to the situation, is far more personal, far more desperate. Let's be clear, this isn't a couple having a spat. This isn't a disagreement over branding or speaking engagements. This is about trust. At the deepest level, what we've learned over the past 48 hours has shifted the ground under the royal drama. This story, buried under layers of silence, is starting to leak from behind private doors, WhatsApp threads, and off-the-record palace briefings. And yes, what Harry said in that final call to Charles might be the most heartbreaking thing of all. But we're not there yet. Because to understand why Harry made that call, you need to know what he found. And what he found wasn't just shocking. It was the beginning of the end. What cracks first in a relationship like this? Is it the trust? The intimacy? Or something subtler, like that quiet shift in someone's voice when they think you're not paying attention? That's where this begins. Not with a scandal, not with a bombshell, but with a whisper, a change in atmosphere. In Montecito, where every hedge is sculpted and every secret supposedly buried under layers of PR gloss, something shifted. Neighbors noticed. Staff whispered. And Harry, well, he started disappearing more often. Not physically, emotionally. He's not present anymore, one insider said. He's in the room, but somewhere else entirely. At first, it was easy to explain. Work pressure, a new documentary pitch, the demands of raising two young children. But those closest to the couple began to sense that something deeper was wrong. That something had broken. It wasn't one big event. It was a collection of moments. Meghan walking into meetings alone. Harry seen pacing outside their estate, phone in hand, staring at the ocean but not really seeing it. And then came the dinner party. A seemingly normal evening with a high-powered Hollywood producer in town. Meghan hosted. Harry arrived late and left early. According to two guests who spoke on condition of anonymity, the tension was thick. At one point, Harry reportedly said, under his breath, "So this is what it was about." No one asked what he meant, but everyone heard it. Later that night, something happened. Harry, unable to sleep, supposedly got up and went into Meghan's home office. This wasn't new. He's done it before, looking for a charger or grabbing notes for a speech. But this time, according to a source close to the couple's inner circle, he found something he wasn't meant to see. A conversation. Archived. Quietly tucked away in a message app not normally used. The contact was unfamiliar. The tone was cold. Strategic. Businesslike. It wasn't the content that caught Harry's breath. It was the intention behind it. One phrase reportedly repeated itself in the conversation. Just keep him out of it until it's locked. What did that mean? Keep him out of what? Harry didn't say anything that night. He closed the app. Went back to bed. and lay awake, staring at the ceiling for hours. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just industry talk. He told himself that, over and over again. But when he opened the tablet again the next morning and dug deeper, he found more. Details, timelines, plans, names. And the worst part? He wasn't in any of it. But not to Meghan. Not this time. Harry didn't pace. He didn't storm down the hallway demanding answers. Instead, he walked out to the garden, sat down under that massive olive tree they planted when they moved in, and dialed a number he hadn't used in months. The number for Clarence's house. He didn't say much to the staffer who answered. Just gave his name. Said it was urgent. Said it was personal. When Charles answered, there was a long pause. They hadn't spoken since the Jubilee. Maybe longer. But what broke that silence wasn't anger or pride. It was Harry's voice, low and cracking. She's been planning this behind my back. And then, still holding the phone, he opened the second file. It was a contract draft. Headers redacted, but the content was clear. Meghan Markle. Proposed delivery of exclusive material, including private diary footage, one-on-one moments with Harry, royal correspondences, a father-son letter believed to be between Charles and Harry, labeled in quotes, like a piece of dialogue in a script. Now, remember, none of this was officially confirmed. We're talking about digital leaks, second-hand confirmations, and at least one very close friend of Harry's who described him that night as gutted. But the timeline. That's where things really start to unravel. Because the document wasn't new. It was dated 8 months ago. Back when Harry was defending Meghan against the media. Back when he was telling the public they were one team. Back when he believed they were building a future together. And during all that, she was working on something that, at best, excluded him, and at worst, capitalized on him. According to the draft, Meghan had been consulting with a media firm on a docu-memoir hybrid. A streaming event. One that would focus on her truth, but still involve Harry's story arc. Just not his input. There were even discussion points about which family members could legally be named and which needed to be blurred or referenced anonymously to avoid defamation suits. In parentheses next to one bullet point, Harry not required for release. Let that sink in. She didn't need him. Not for permission. Not for participation. Just presence. The memory of him. The symbol. Now look. This is where things get muddy. Meghan may have had her reasons. Maybe she felt unheard. Maybe she wanted to reclaim her voice. Maybe she thought Harry would understand eventually. But Harry didn't feel empowered. He felt ambushed. So when he hung up with Charles, he did something even more surprising. He called William. And what William told him. But even Charles didn't expect the call to come that quickly, or in that tone. It wasn't a political call. It wasn't strategic. It was human. And devastating. Harry's voice, according to someone briefed on the exchange, was barely recognizable. Slowed. Flat. As if he had lost his footing entirely and was struggling to name what hurt. And Charles, for all his faults, for all the history between them, did what fathers do when they hear that kind of voice. He listened. Harry reportedly opened with only a few words. I don't know who she is anymore. That silence on the line stretched longer than expected. Then Charles asked. What happened? What happened wasn't just about a media deal. It wasn't just a question of rights, privacy, or betrayal. It was about the children. Because what Harry had seen in that second batch of files wasn't just about the past. It hinted at something much more dangerous. Meghan allegedly had arrangements in place for solo appearances with the children, without Harry. Brand deals. Strategic visibility. Even legal inquiries around custody definitions in the state of California. Things Harry never approved, never saw, and, most alarmingly, never discussed. It read like a plan B, contingency planning. And for Harry, that was the breaking point. It wasn't about being cut out of a brand. It was about the very real possibility that, one day, his children might be taken from him, legally, emotionally, symbolically, and he wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. So what did he ask Charles for? That's where the leaks become contradictory. Some sources claim Harry requested temporary custody protections tied to the UK, using dual citizenship as a legal foothold. Others say he wanted Charles to step in diplomatically, to broker some form of private agreement between legal teams before anything went public. And then there's the third version, less confirmed but circulating in tight royal-adjacent circles. that Harry asked Charles to activate what's called a royal safeguard, an obscure, rarely invoked internal mechanism designed to protect heirs and their children from being exploited by outside entities. We don't know if such a thing truly exists, but the idea of it raises eyebrows, because it suggests that Harry no longer believes he can protect his own children from within his own marriage. And William? He didn't say much after hearing the full details. Just one line, according to one source close to the situation. "You finally see it now, don't you?" But what Harry saw next, after Meghan returned home that night, was worse. She already knew he'd found everything. And that's what stunned everyone watching from the edges of this unraveling storm. Harry didn't retaliate. He didn't lawyer up. He didn't issue a warning shot through the press. He surrendered. To Charles. To William. Maybe even to the truth he didn't want to face. According to one palace insider, Harry's words during that second call to his father were simple, quiet, almost embarrassed. "I think I've lost her. I don't want to lose them too." Them. That word hung in the air. The implication was clear: Archie, Lilibet. The children caught between two versions of reality, one private, one package for the world. Two competing stories, and only one of them still felt real to Harry. At that point, Charles reportedly made a decision of his own. Within 24 hours, a discreet royal legal envoy was dispatched to California. Not to intervene publicly, not to spark a custody battle, but to evaluate what, exactly, Harry was trying to preserve, and whether it was too late. Back in London, the mood was cautious. William remained silent. No briefings, no nods to the press, just a locked door, and a schedule suddenly cleared for private family matters. But Meghan? She wasn't idle. Her team moved fast. Crisis PR protocols kicked in. Scheduled media appearances were either postponed or replaced with softer, family-focused content. Online accounts that had gone dark suddenly revived with sunny, nostalgic throwbacks. Pictures of Archie's birthday, filtered with golden hues and handwritten captions. One post read, "Grateful for every moment we get to grow together." But behind that social glow, something colder was taking shape. Multiple media outlets began receiving quiet feelers, unsourced, unattributed tips hinting at tensions in the Sussex marriage. Some mentioned creative differences. Others claimed Harry had grown increasingly isolated, even paranoid. It was, as one royal staffer put it, the kind of slow-burn distancing you only notice in hindsight, until suddenly it's official. And that's when something unexpected arrived at Clarence's house. A letter. Not from Harry. From Meghan. Sealed. Delivered by private courier. No return address. No digital copy. No leaks. Its contents remain unknown. But those close to Charles say his face changed after reading it. That he walked out of his office, pale, and whispered, "It's starting. And whatever it is, it's bigger than divorce. It's bigger than titles. It's something only a few people in the world were ever meant to see. And now, it's in motion." So what now? The story, as we've seen it unfold, hasn't ended. If anything, it's just cracked open, and what's spilling out feels less like royal drama and more like something far more intimate, more fragile. A man, hollowed out by realization. A woman, calm and composed, moving 2 steps ahead. A family, one that's fractured, yes, but still watching, still waiting, still unsure of how far this goes. But let's go back to that original moment. The call. That moment where Harry, voice trembling, told his father he might have already lost the woman he gave up everything for, but that he couldn't bear to lose his children too. That wasn't a play for public sympathy. That wasn't strategy. It was something much more rare in royal circles. A confession. Raw. Human. A prince reduced to a father scared of vanishing from his own story. And that story? It's slipping out of his hands. You can feel it in the gaps, between statements, in what's not being said. The fact that no one, not even Harry or Meghan, has issued a formal denial. No press release. No carefully worded sources close to retort. Just curated silence. Stage-managed stillness. And that silence? It's louder than any headline. Because when public figures go quiet, they're either protecting something or preparing for something. Which raises the question, what is being prepared? Is this about damage control? A strategic separation masked as creative divergence? Or is this something darker? A complete erasure of shared history, Of Harry's place not just in Meghan's future, but in his own children's story? We can't say. Not yet. But what we can say is this. Harry now sees what many warned him about. Not because they were right, or because he was wrong, but because sometimes love blinds us until it hurts to look. And now he's staring into that hurt, wide-eyed, unguarded, and possibly alone. Charles, for all his flaws, is now being asked to do something unprecedented. Protect a son who walked away from the institution by using the very tools of that institution. And William? He's watching his brother unravel with a mixture of regret, vindication, and, perhaps, pain of his own. This isn't about villains. It's about choices. And Harry, finally, has to make one that might cost him everything. But before he does,